There's some others.
Let's not just talk a little much.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
$1,000 down there.
Thank you.
Oh, I see what
I wrote down their different colors.
Yeah, stick it straight down.
We've been very, I've done with it.
My son's the
Over here, yeah.
We've been very, I did a lot of
I
movement.
know this is shut down and all that, but like this is older architect, somebody's
radar.
by.
That's right.
The height of the building can go over.
Something that's always.
Are we ready?
I'm ready.
I'd like to call to order this June 7th, 2016 Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Adrian, if you'd call the roll, please.
Ms. Kidder.
Here.
Mr. Copley.
Here.
Chair Teal.
Here.
Mr. Kerrigan.
Here.
Mr. Bush.
Here.
Alternate Driver. Alternate Wilker.
Here.
And our first item is the minutes of our May 3rd meeting. Do I have a motion to accept those, or is there any discussion?
There be no discussion, I make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're flying right along. We got a little public hearing, the Martin request for zone change at 2004 Highway 98 from tourist residential to tourist commercial. Do we have any public comment on this?
That's our first.
You sure can.
Public speaking is not my thing, so I get nervous every time. But anyways, my husband, Jason Gage, we live at Highway 98, 2004, and I don't know why I'm so nervous. I've been here 5 or 6 times already doing the same thing.
And we haven't got a cupcake.
I know.
I know, they said don't bring any.
She didn't bring the cupcakes, that's what's making her nervous.
I know. Then you'd have something to feast your eyes on versus listening to me shake. So we live at 2004 Highway 98, and we're requesting, well, not so much us, but Florida Food and Agriculture is requesting for us, in order for them to come out and do an inspection, for us to be zoned commercial in order to have our bakery inside of our apartment that's downstairs. So we've looked at all different avenues. I mean, these are our neighbors. We've seen letters. We want to keep it small town. I know I need to. We've looked at doing like a food truck. We've looked at buying a commercial spot to have the bakery in, and there was a bakery years ago that was in Killer Seafood, and it did not go over well. I think just for the population that we have, and with how much rent and space is, it would have to be a 24/7 bakery, and then even still, I don't know if it would make it. So I'm looking at Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday from 8 to 1, so 3 to 4 days a week, and that would just, I don't want to work full time, I have a toddler, but something, for years I've done a bakery under the assumptions of the cottage food law that different states operate out of. It's just very limiting to do that. I've done farmers markets. My product and the humidity won't go over so well in the farmers markets. So it's so we looked at the food truck item because I know there's a few in town. Now I know they put limitations now on those, but it's just to me an eyesore to have another food truck or parking the truck in our driveway, you know, for means of when we would move it around to sell the product. So we kind of thought this would be the best idea. I mean, for us, it's on a major, it's on Highway 98. Most everything along Highway 98 is commercial or commercial tourism, except for a few streets. We're not changing the aesthetics of our house. Our house is staying the same. We're actually, we've spent thousands on the inside of it anyway. We call it our lemon house, but anyways. So we have plans for the landscaping, putting in a fence, and we have a buttload of trees being delivered next week, adding trees to it. So there was never any consideration in our minds of future plans of this lot being torn down, used for commercial space. It's a takeout bakery. I think the city bylaws require per 200 to 300 square feet of space to have 1 or 2 parking spaces. We have ample parking. I mean, our whole yard is a rock yard if need be. But we were just trying to do this the legal way versus there's lots of bakers that sell stuff out of their house doing it illegally. So I think that was our main thought process. I mean, we've got neighbors still doing things that, you know, on a tourist residential property that is really a commercial business that they're running. And so that's just kind of our thoughts. So any questions I can answer?
I have a question, Ms. Martin. Am I correct in assuming that you're an Air Force family?
Yes.
What do you envision happening to the property when you PCS?
We bought it a year ago. This is our retirement. He hits 26 years in October. So he's 6 foot shy of being able to put in his retirement paperwork, but that's our plan. I mean,
While you're here.
yeah, so we bought it with the intent of this is our permanent residence. We've been overseas for about 17 years, and we're 4 to 6 hours from our family in Georgia. So we liked the small town feel, and we just, this is our permanent.
Thank you.
I'm sure if this came to be, I'm sure it wouldn't be difficult to, you'll need some sort of signage. And of course, we have plenty of rules about signs.
Yeah.
I didn't see any mention of that, but I would assume then that you would
Kind
to
of.
the city for.
Kind of what we're envisioning is on 21st Street, across the street is Driftwood Inn, their properties. They have to assign the parking spots. That's kind of what we were looking at doing, something similar with a wooden sign. It's a back gate entry into the business. So we would have some sort of maybe sign on the gate just saying, okay, this is where the bakery's at.
People would enter
They-
off 98 or
Off 21st. Yeah, so right when they pull into 21st, that whole corner area, we have our driveway, but previous to the driveway is enough for 4 parking spots. So that's kind of our thought. People would pull in there. There's a gate right to our backyard, and the bakery entrance is off of our backyard. So I don't know what direction that is, but
We got a big.
yeah.
You're
Yeah,
talking
so-
on the east side, not on the 21st Street side, but they're going to walk around the.
They'll park,
around
they'll park on 21st, and then
Then
right as
walk
they
around
park, they'll
to
walk
the-
straight ahead through a gate, and the apartment door is right through there.
Maybe north side of the house, follow north side of the house, be back of the house.
Anything else?
No, I've seen the letters from our neighbors, their concerns about the commercial property. We have the same concerns. We don't anticipate, we think 4 parking spots. It's a takeout type business, open 3 to 4 days a week from 8 to 1. So just being able to provide the community another avenue versus driving 20 to 40 minutes to a box store to get baked goods. Everything's made from scratch, and just supporting small town businesses, I guess.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
My name is Chas Fensom, and I live at 2005 Highway 98, which is right across the street. And my parents or I have been in that house since 1950, so we're a long time. We're not full-time around here, but we've been here every summer, raised here in the summer. So, we're well familiar with Mexico Beach. And I just heard the presentation, and it doesn't sound like much, and it doesn't really bother me, and I'm against it. But the reason I'm against it is because once you make it commercial, whether they sell it, whether they keep it, no matter what they decide to do, it can be anything over there. I mean, you know, it can be a gas station. I don't know what approval system you have to go through, but it's commercial. And then once you get into commercial in this plat, and now this plat we're talking about, and we're talking about everything from 19th Street down to 22nd Street on the north side of the road. And on the south side of the road, we're talking basically the same area. And so any of that, once you open the door, you can go in and start rezoning anything. And so that is my major concern. And, you know, I just kind of speaking from my heart on this. It's a residential area. It was zoned a residential area. And there's no real reason to change it. I know she talked about the property, but I think if you go down to 7th Street, and then you go all the way to 19th Street, that's mostly business on the north side of the road. I'm calling the north side of the road, the land side. And then once you pass 22nd Street, you can go all the way to the end of the beach and most of that. So that's all business area, or hotels or condos or whatever. So this is outside of the far end of Mexico Beach. This is one of the few areas that is all residential. And you know, I'd like to keep it that way. But something similar, a lot more involved in this, came up a few years ago, and it went to the Florida Supreme Court. And it was case number 63879. And this was in 1985 when they made the ruling. And what this involved, it involved in 1984, I'm going to read this so I'll make sure I do it right. In 1984, a homeowner in this plat, which same plat we're talking about, brought a lawsuit against an owner who was in violation of the restricted covenants. And the plat restriction states, the restricted covenants, all lots shown in the plat are restricted to residences. No house may be erected on any lot shown hereon at a cost of less than $3,000. Only one building may be erected on each lot, except a garage apartment may be placed on the rear of the lot. And this is in the plat, and it's a restriction on the deed, and that's been since 1948, and it's still in effect. Going along with what happened on that, the Supreme Court ruled in this case, when a purchaser of land intends to use it for a purpose not allowed by restricted covenants, he should seek to have the deed restriction removed before purchasing the property. And in this case, the property, I think, was purchased in 2015. So it was in effect, and this is after the fact. The court ruled that the restricted covenants took precedence over the zoning ordinance and stated that if the court did not prevent the variance, the court would only open the door to more violations, eventually resulting in the complete circumvention and abandonment of the restricted covenants. So they're saying, hey, you're going to destroy it. And that's what I'm saying. So, according to my lawyer, this will still be in effect today. I mean, there's no reason to change this Supreme Court ruling. And really, that's all. But I think, in addition to that, I've talked to a few people, and, you know, I haven't talked to anybody who lived in the plot that's in favor of doing this. But it seems to me everybody in the plat, not plot, should be notified of this occurred, because it would affect them, or it could affect each and every one of them. So anyway, I appreciate your time and service. That's what I got to say.
Thank you.
Are there any questions? I can give you more details if you want them. Go
That's
into
fine.
it in great depth.
Anyone else like to speak?
Hi, I'm Stephanie Mahoney.
Can y'all please use the microphone? Thank you.
Is that better?
Yes, much better, thank you.
Okay, I'm Stephanie Mahoney. I actually think the bakery is a really cute idea, and I understand his concern. I understand there's some concerns about changing it, but I think we're all educated adults. We can come up with a plan. that we can have a bakery in this town, because I think it's it's cute to go into a bakery with your kids and pick out a cupcake. It's cute to have tourism come in and say, hey, we need cupcakes. Gulf Foods doesn't have cupcakes. It would be a nice resource for families who already live here and for tourism. So there's got to be a way that she can open up a bakery somehow. There's just got to be a way that we can do this. Whether she runs, I don't know, but there's just got to be a way that we can have a bakery in her house. Or somehow. I just think it is a good resource for our little town and for the people who live here. I mean, I would enjoy it with my family. Tourism would enjoy it too. So I think we've got to consider somehow to make this work. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I have a letter written by a lady from Albany.
Could you come up to the podium, please?
Oh, it's just-
The letter is supplied to the board.
Pardon me?
That letter's been supplied to the board.
Yes, that's what I was going to ask. Shall I read it?
We've all read it.
Okay, all right, that's what I was going to ask.
Oh, okay.
Up here. All right.
Kind of late to this. We kind of just found out about it with the sign when we came back to town. We live at 104 19th Street, and as far as 98 goes, this is about the only residential left for a kind of big area. And a commercial gets in here, it's gonna ruin it. It's gonna ruin it. I know you want a bakery and stuff, but there's so much other commercial around on 98. Seems like, would have thought about that. But I'm not for it.
All right.
I agree with the gentleman that was up here the last time.
Thank you very much.
What's your name?
Jeanette Giffen?
Thank you.
Any other public discussion?
Gallegos. I don't see any reason to have a small bakery. I'm for it, actually. I've had her cupcakes. They're awesome. For her to work out of her home only 3 days out of the week or 4, I absolutely see no reason why she couldn't have this bakery. Thank you.
All right. Is that it for public comment? Yes, ma'am?
All right, I'm his wife, but I'm for having a bakery too. But why can't she just make those cupcakes in her house and we just go get them when we want to? I mean, can't y'all make that happen? I mean, does she have to be granted, does she have to change her status, commercial?
In order to have a bakery in the home, it's my understanding, to have it certified and be able to sell, she has to have a zoning change. Am I not correct?
Yes, I mean, Florida does have a cottage food law, and we looked at that with the cottage food law. You can bake out of your house, but you're limited to $15,000 a year. I can't sell to any restaurants in town, and I can't do any online advertising. It allows you to go to farmers markets. So I can do special orders, but my vision was for customers to be able to come in and have a variety of options to choose from versus, like, anybody can order cupcakes from me, but it's a dozen minimum order. So like a family of 2, they're not going to come and order a dozen cupcakes unless it's a special occasion. Or so by having a bakery, you could pop in and get 1 cupcake or 1 chocolate croissant or a slice of quiche, or
So are you going to have tables set up? Or?
No, it's just eat out. So it's 2 bakery display cases. One's refrigerated for like my cheesecakes or what have you, and then I'll have 1 dry display case. The apartment's about 300 square feet, so no eat-in. It's simply they come to the register, pick out what they'd like, and then take out.
But it's still a business. It still ends up being a business, and the zoning is changed, and we live right next door to the Driftwood Inn, and we're getting crunched in. We've got that road, the service road that goes right down our house, which we didn't have for all those years, and so we're trying to get used to that. And They had no parking over there, you know, the Driftwood Inn. Everybody's on the street. We can hardly get out onto the street. It is a dangerous situation. And of course, it's already dangerous, and then if this is next door, I mean, across the street, we're gonna have parking problems. I know they have a lot of property there for people if you know, but they've still got to, it is dangerous right now. I'm not kidding. We've had problems, and our next door neighbor, who's not here, that I think left y'all a letter, she has had problems getting out onto the road. We can't see past the trucks and all that are parked right on the road there at the Driftwood Inn, because they don't have parking for their people.
It's a problem all up and down
Yeah,
98.
I'm sure it is. But that's,
Welcome to Mexico Keys.
yeah,
We're hitting hard.
yeah,
We've
but
noticed.
anyway.
Noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, they seem like very nice people, and I'd love to have her cupcakes myself, but we just. I know, it could have really influenced me. I'm a donut and cupcake person, but anyway, we are very opposed to changing this.
We appreciate your comments. I'll open the discussion then for the council. Do we have any comments?
First of all, the argument on the 1984 Supreme Court case as that the covenant taking precedence over zoning is an interesting argument. But I think that before we can accept that as members of the zoning board, we would have to have an opinion from the city attorney. So I think that's something that we shouldn't consider at this time. I would like to thank Ms. Martin for doing things the right way. I know she could go backdoor and try and do things, and I really appreciate the fact that she's trying to do this the right way. However, I have two concerns. First, I understand you plan on making this your retirement home, but what happens if something else happens that you don't? We rezone it, and then that property's up for sale, or even 50 years from now when you're no longer the owner, once that thing is rezoned, then it's rezoned and anything in the world can go in there. My second concern is the precedence that this would establish. Once we rezone that for what you're looking to do, then how do we deny somebody else seeking to rezone for something similar? So those are my two concerns. But again, thank you for going about and trying to do this the right way.
Comments from anyone else?
I have one comment in the handout Mel gave us. If we zone it commercial, tourist commercial now, if they start to move, if something comes up, and that was my question, whether you were retiring. I'm glad you're retiring and staying here. He said we can always go back and change it back again. It's up to the Planning and Zoning Board and the City Council. We can take it back to tourist residential. And I think if they were going to be leaving, we'd have enough notice from them to go ahead and reverse it. So I don't think it's irrevocable if we do change it.
All right.
It took 10 years to sell the house, so I don't think, I mean, it's been on the market since 2005, so.
But what if people come in between that time and they want to be rezoned? You know, there's.
You look at everything on a case-by-case basis. Any other?
I think part of it is you look at, and what I'm looking here is we don't have a bakery like that. Chubby Chicken, that was the name of it.
Okay.
And we hated it when it shut down. Interesting people that ran it, the lady that ran it, you know, but we missed it. So a bakery would be something we don't have. If somebody else comes in and wants a rezoning, we look at a case-by-case basis. Is it such a novel idea that it would contribute to the community, or somebody wants to come in and just put a gas station on there or something? So
They
we
would not be able to though, because it's commercial tourism, so I think, no, I think that alleviates a gas station and maybe a funeral home, and I mean, there's several.
Limitations.
Yeah, and we looked at commercial first, but found that commercial tourism was more limiting, and
Go ahead, Mr. Carey.
The packet that we were given said that tourist commercial allows for gasoline sales and service, combination gasoline sales, and small food marts. Right, but the truth of it is, there's not enough property to do it.
Any other council comment?
I agree that you guys are going about the right way, and I really appreciate this. I don't know who supplies wedding cakes now. There's a very big beach wedding industry here, and I'm sure people just do it out of their homes and aren't licensed or commercially zoned to do this in Port St. Joe or St. Joe Beach, however it's done. My question is, we've said, it sounds like a lot of people do want a bakery, and I too. And I think there's a new one that's opened just recently. I believe it's called Mexico Beach Sweets and Treats. They do ice cream. They say they do
Frozen
their
donuts, yes.
Okay, they said they do their donuts every morning. I don't know about the product quality. I'm not a food service expert. I just had the ice cream. But have you, in your business model, looked at a location like that, or maybe in the little shops? It sounds like there's a demand here, but just not in this location.
Well, we did look at that. They had, it was, I think, just tacos before Caribbean coffee. The problem is it's $800 to over $1,000 a month, the same reason why probably that bakery. We have 1,000 people here, 4,000 people for St. Joe, throw in some tourists, but I mean, I haven't done it in this location. I just don't think the population would warrant, you'd have so much overhead that the cost of stuff would have to be high, as with all the other, I mean, food's expensive here regardless. So I think just the overhead, it would have to be open 24/7 to make ends meet or to make a run at it. So, and I wasn't looking for a restaurant. I mean, I'm looking for 3 to 4 days a week, pop in 8 to 1. I mean, I have to leave my house at 1 to go, and he might be going to school in Bay County. So, I mean, it's just, I mean, I know you're taking my word for that, but that's just kind of our lifestyle right now, that it's.
Any more council comment? Would
You don't
anyone,
have the case number, do you need it, or I have the information if you don't?
would anyone care to make a motion?
I make a motion that we deny the change in zoning from tourist residential to tourist commercial.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Take the roll, please, Mr. Adrian.
Ms. Kidder.
Yes.
Mr. Coker.
No.
Chair Tim.
No.
Mr. Carrigan.
I want to be clear on the yes and no.
Yes.
Yes
He's
to
made
deny.
he's made a motion to deny their.
This is a vote for denying.
Yes.
And Mr. Bush.
Yes.
So the motion passes 3-2 to deny the request for a zoning change.
And keep in mind, that's a recommendation to the city council for next
Right.
week.
That's all it is. The city council will do whatever it is they choose to do. So we move to a public hearing, a discussion on Bernine, is that how you pronounce it? Variance? Burn? No, I'm sorry. The Burn variance request for a stairway which will encroach on the public right-of-way at 101 Ocean Plantation Circle. Do we have any public discussion on this?
Hi, thank you for your time. My name is Jean Byrne. We wound up with a situation after the house was built. We had gone through all the planning with the draftsperson and the architect, and 2 plot plans, the original one and then the one after it was surveyed. And depending, it's still complicated to me, but the best I can figure is that we wound up with the bottom step about 1 foot and 3 inches into the area. So that from the bottom of the step to the curb is 28 3/4 feet instead of 30. And I think, looking back, partly what happened was that we made the house higher. I don't know how many of you have. I lost everything in Hurricane Ivan, and so I'm very nervous about storm surge and waves and whatever, and so I wanted it as high as we possibly could. So I'm guessing that might be what happened, was the increased height by 2 blocks caused the step to go further. I have done due diligence, asking every neighbor that I have come across and knocking on doors to see if anybody had any objections. Absolutely nobody had any. Most people didn't even realize that it had gone in because of the fact that it's on a corner as well. There's a very wide expanse of land there, and it looks very open. The reason that we petitioned is, first of all, to do it legally, and also it would be quite a hardship. I'm recently retired. This is my dream home. We bought the land 7 years ago, and we've been planning and saving, and to have to move the stairs would be considerable. Also, the fact that it was designed specifically as a Southern shotgun style home, and so it's kind of aesthetically important to come up the stairs and be able to see through the whole house. As I said, I haven't received any objections. I don't know if anybody came forward to object. And I just ask your leniency on this so that we can proceed and get our C of O, and I can become a resident, which I've been dreaming about, so.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to comment?
I am like a number of people. We've all looked at our houses and would like to modify them in some way, and have been told we can't go into the setbacks or the right-of-ways many times. Think about Bill Ponder, who was trying to rehab his house for handicap purposes and was not allowed to even go into the setback, much less the public right-of-way. It's a problem when things go wrong, I know, but from this design, I don't understand why the stairs can't be put on the side like they were evidently drawn to be. I just think that is an extremely dangerous precedent to start allowing people to start infringing into the public right-of-way. Well, even the easement. I mean, once you start, guys, there's been an awful lot of us who have been denied these things for various reasons, some of them for medical reasons, so just think long and hard about allowing any infringement, because there's a lot of us who will not be happy with you.
Thank you very much. Discussion from the council?
I have a question for Ms. Byrne.
Yes.
Am I correct in my understanding is that you had a revised plan which would have fixed this, and you chose to go with the original plan when you knew?
No. That sketch was done, I don't even know where it came from, but that sketch was done after the measurement was realized, and we were trying to find some alternatives, but I don't even know.
Was the house constructed after the revised plan?
No, the house was already constructed. When the stairway was measured, that's when it was found, and that was the alternative that was presented, was that it was possible to put it on the side, but.
Who did the measurement which determined that you were out of order, or you were out of code?
I don't know. Really, I don't know.
Were the stairs built prior to Mr. Krill pointing out the fact that you were encroaching and crossed through? The stairs were already built?
Oh, so that's his drawing? Yes, he came out and the stairs were in, and that's when we were discussing putting the stairs to the side. And there are no, see, that's confusing. There's no stairs in the back. So that's the only, the secondary means of egress. I don't even understand that drawing, really. There's something in the back crossed out, and then.
You're talking about the set of stairs that come off where it says front porch.
At the bottom of the picture.
Yeah.
At the bottom of the picture.
Because you've got side stairs.
You have some.
There's side stairs here. This is the stairway that's in.
Question.
Yeah. I don't know what that one is in the back. I never saw that before.
Okay.
And it wouldn't give you access to the front door. That one, that's just an enclosed deck. There was originally, you can see the drawing for the back stairs there, but those were eliminated right away once we realized that the house was long. And it's safer for me.
So is it, let me ask you this, is it just a matter of your design preference that these stairs couldn't come down and then turn and not encroach?
Okay, in all honesty, I don't know what the encroachment is. This is the most confusing thing to me. I spent hours measuring, trying to figure out. Somebody said, oh, well, if you look at, there's two separate plans. There was the original plot that when we bought the land, that measured a certain way. And then the survey measured it like so many feet less because it went into the water in the back. And then, somebody said, well, your entire staircase, if this is the edge of the house, where is the front? Okay. See, this is the back. In the front, okay, so then it's just the one step, which I believe anyway. I mean, I don't know whether we're gonna have to, get another survey, or you probably have the final survey. I didn't get the information, but I could probably even eliminate the bottom step and do a raised sidewalk. That might, take care of it. But the only other, I don't know what that other drawing was. The stairs off the back porch, that wouldn't be an access.
Okay, Ms. Byrd, this begs another question, okay? When you decided to make the house higher,
Yes.
okay, was that additional height put back into the city for them to approve it?
Oh, yeah, that was before.
So then what you're telling us is the city should have recognized at that time that you would have encroached on the easement?
I believe so. Somebody should have realized at some point before we got the house all done.
Who built your house? Who's the builder?
Steve Newman, Big Fish.
Big Fish, okay. He's a local builder. I would think he would have realized, looking at the plat, I mean, I'm just wondering whose fault is it? Why did this happen? Did you have an architect design the house?
Oh, we had a draftsperson
Okay.
do the drawings, and those plans were submitted and approved. And that's when I said the original lot measured longer because of the conservation land in the back, I guess. And then when they did the survey, it seemed to me it came out shorter. I don't really know the scenario of what happened. I just know that when we got the stairs in, then it was discussed that we were over, and that's when I said, well, at this point, I'm going to come to you all and ask for an easement, because we'd have to chop the stairs off, move the stairs, and as I said, that would be a financial hardship as well as an aesthetic one.
How many steps are there? I don't know how accurate this drawing is.
Do you have the, here you go.
I think I wrote in the thing how many.
It's fairly wide stairs.
Yeah, I saw that. Because one remedy could be, if you came halfway down your stairs and then turned right or left, whichever way you preferred, so that your stair came down and then your stair came down.
Right.
You could be well within the encroached amount. Now, maybe aesthetically that doesn't please you, I don't know, but
Well, it would also be.
it
more
would be an added
expensive
expense to have your
do
stairs
that.
redone.
Yeah, you'd have to do the.
But that would solve, that's one possibility that would solve it without needing any kind of a variance.
Well, if somebody could tell me, actually, in all honesty, how much we're talking about, I might be able to remedy it, as I said, from the sidewalk aspect. But I'm confused.
And just come down this way.
I think you mentioned the idea of a raised sidewalk or something, because the sidewalk could go out to the street. That's not against, so she just backed it up,
and raised it.
Like a step and down some steps, that might be a solution, then at least you still have the straight
Yeah,
stairway.
the solution he's discussing and the one I'm discussing both involve a little bit of, or some expense, I don't know how much. I think what is being suggested as one alternative is that you raise the ground level to a point where you can take a step out. Now, granted, that means your railings and things have to, there is some expense. Another being the one I propose where you come down and you turn. So there may be other alternatives other than getting a variance. We'll see how the Planning and Zoning Board feels about it. If there's no further discussion.
I have some discussion.
Sure.
I think this whole thing hinges on the second issue that we need to consider in granting the variance, in that the special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant. I mean, I'm hesitant to disapprove something which is not her fault. And right now, I'm not comfortable with who's to blame here, whether it's the builder, whether it's the applicant, or whether the city missed the step when they approved the plans. So I'm personally not comfortable in voting on this issue right now. I think it should be tabled until we can research this thing further and find out who's at fault.
If I could
'Cause
interject.
I sure don't want to penalize her for something that the city did, or her builder did.
Builder, yeah.
The map that we saw on the TV screen earlier, you'll see at the bottom it said 12/7/15. That's Bo Creel's writing, that's the date he went out and met with the owners. And he's the one that crossed out the front steps on this map to tell them that's not allowable. So the city is not at fault
So that
whatsoever.
is before it was built then?
Yes, sir.
That was my question to you, ma'am. And you said it was after the stairs were built.
Yeah, that's my recollection.
Did he talk to the applicant or did he talk to the contractor? Do you know?
I was not there at the time, so I don't have the answer to that. What the board could do, if you don't want to table it, you could kind of make a two-headed motion. You could make a motion that says, if in its current configuration, we would deny, or if the applicant were to work with Bo Creel to get an alternative solution to get it out of the right-of-way, then there'd be no need for a approval.
Variance in there.
Right.
Any more discussion? Anyone like to make a motion?
Okay, if nobody's going to make a motion, then I would make a motion that we deny the variance. Because based on my understanding, is that it should have been built on the revised plan and it was not. So therefore, she's at fault, she doesn't meet at least the second requirement. So I move that we deny the variance, or recommend that the council deny the variance.
And do we have a second? Motion dies for a second.
It'll go back to the board with no recommendation.
So there'll be no recommendation on this issue from the city council, or from the planning and zoning board for the city council. And that takes us to our food trailer truck discussion.
Maybe before we start, I need to reveal I've had an ex parte communication with Mr. G. After the meeting last week, I gave him a copy of the handout packet we had, which had the various ordinances and stuff. I asked him to review them and then get back with me if there was anything in there that would cause a problem with him establishing his business, or if he felt there was anything that needed to be added to those examples that we had. Okay, he never got back with me, but I did talk to him about it.
Thank you. So the last time we met and discussed this issue, we kind of felt a little limited on how much we knew about it. I don't know if anybody's done any homework, looked into it any further. I'm not perfectly clear myself on the nuts and bolts of the issue. Are we being asked as the Planning and Zoning Board to make some sort of a proposal, or we don't have anything in front of us that says you can, you can't, you can do it here, you can't do it there. Are we being asked to design a proposal that would define what and where food trucks or trailers might be allowed?
In essence, that's correct, but just let me give you a little history on where this all started. No question, Mr. G's has been in business for some time, and Shoebies had asked for a business license to come into town. And the staff was told by the previous administration that all they had to do was get a business license, get permission from the property owner, make sure you're in proper zoning, make sure you don't have your trailers in the right-of-way, things of that sort, and at that point, you're good to go. Then it was pointed out by one of our city council members that that's really not the right way to go about it. You know, we need some regulations to keep these food trailers from popping up, because at the time, we had 2 more requests for food trailers in other locations. So at that point, the council put the moratorium on any more food trailers. They kind of grandfathered Mr. G's and Shoebies. And the moratorium has no ending date, so unless it's changed, it will stand. Then they asked the Plan and Zoning to begin the research to maybe make a recommendation to the city council as to what to do with the food trailers. Now keep in mind, the food trucks are always somehow thrown in there. Food trucks really are kind of a different duck. You know, they are mobile in nature. They don't have a permanent location like Mr. G's and Shoebies does. And so they're covered under the peddler's ordinance. So we're just fine on food trucks. It's the trailers in a permanent location that needs a little work. I think you could also argue that food trailers for special events in the proper zoning areas for just a temporary time would fall under the peddler's ordinance as well. But the problem we're facing with is the permanent location of the food trailers.
So I would like to revert back to your suggestion from our previous meeting that maybe we have a workshop, and not necessarily open to public discussion, which I do believe is permitted. They're certainly welcome to come and listen, and maybe we start to develop some sort of an outline that what are the issues, what are the problems, what are the rules that we would recommend. You can, you can't, you can do it here, you can't do it there. But I think this is something more that can be handled by all of us going our own direction, getting what we can. That's great. But I don't think we can bring it back to a meeting of this nature. I think we have to bring it back to some sort of a workshop where we can really start to hash it out and lay down some ideas. I guess we would have to pick a future date, and it would have to be advertised and go through the proper. I know we're just coming into summer. I don't know that there's anything knocking on the door right now that makes this urgent.
Not at all.
So, you know, I don't know when you're going on vacation or you're going to, but we would have to pick a particular night in the future, and whether it be in June, July, August, and revisit this in a workshop and try to put some sort of a construct together to present. And do we want to discuss that date tonight, I guess would be an issue, or do we want to wait till our next meeting when we've all been able to look at our calendars and, you know, do we want it on a Tuesday night or Wednesday, you know, what night we might want it, what day of the, what date we might want to have it. I think we certainly all need a little bit of prep time to do some homework and look at our city and look at what rules there are or aren't, and come up with some ideas and to put them together as a team. Do we want to try to arrive at a date tonight, or do we want to wait till our next meeting and get everybody a little more time to look at their calendars? And anybody got an opinion on?
I'm comfortable with doing it tonight, but it really doesn't make any difference to me when we do it. We definitely, I've put some work in on this, and it's going to require some time on our part. And I'd probably recommend that everybody go home and look at what they think we need to do, then come back to the next meeting. And then after everybody's had a chance to look at it and envision what we think we're going to come up with, then we'll have some kind of idea how much time it's going to take.
Have a little discussion at the next meeting about, and then plan for it. I think that's a great idea.
And I have been doing some research, and of course, you know, there's language out there from other cities. For example, Pensacola, and I think St. Pete is another, and they've kind of already invented the wheel and have language.
We could bring that to the next meeting and have a smaller discussion on it and get our, like you say, then have an idea of, do we need I think we will need a workshop myself, but yeah, I have some material on it too that I've already gathered. So for tonight, I think if everyone's in agreement, the plan is we'll come a little more prepared at our July meeting. We'll have a little more discussion on it, and we'll talk about setting a date for a workshop. Everybody in agreement with that, pretty much?
Let me ask, and
sure.
I appreciate the city manager's explanation, because that was one question I had. You have food trucks, and then you have trailers. Food trucks come in, leave, lots of cities have them. Peddler's ordinance covers that. So really what we need to look at is these fixed
Food
sites. Do they, like Mr. G's, do they tap into utilities, water, sewer, electricity, or are they freestanding?
They have electricity, and they have water and sewer.
Okay. So you're talking about these semi-permanent.
But the one,
shops.
the Scoopies or whatever it is, they don't tap into sewer.
Actually, they tapped into Pristine's.
They did?
Yes.
Okay. So we even need to
that's
decide,
kind
we
of
even
neat.
need, that'll be something that
Think
will
about
come up for, is that necessary? Is that one of the rules, that if you're going to have a food trailer, you've got to be able to access all of these things? So there's a lot on the table for that one, so let's all take a little time, do a little more research.
As we do our research and preparation, is it to formulate guidelines for future applications, or is it guidelines that would also be enforced with the current locations? Are they grandfathered in the past?
Well, they're grandfathered in, or if the city council says that they're grandfathered in. Right now, they are. And that could be a recommendation from the P&Z when it's all said and done. Say that we're okay with the two we got, don't allow any more, pass an ordinance, city council, and we're done. Or if you want to have guidelines on, you know, another location.
If someone wants to make application for another one, here's the criteria they have to meet.
I just wanted to be clear if we were formulating guidelines on them or just future.
No, my understanding, it'd be kind of tough to make the current ones go out of business.
So we're looking at food trailers and whatever guidelines we want to suggest. So with that in mind, we'll get together next time and get a little deeper into it, and then talk about a possible workshop. So we will move on from our food trailer discussion. And Our code enforcement officer items.
Mr. Till, on board, if I could, Mr. Mount.
Go right ahead.
Okay, Police Officer Brennan. Her last name is H plus 10 letters. I'll let her pronounce her last name to everyone, but Sergeant Bailey, as everyone knows, is still out on medical leave, and he is doing better. He's shooting for possibly coming to work next week on light duty. I don't foresee that happening, but in his absence, Officer Brennan has been working the code side of the police department as well as working police calls as well.
Welcome to Mexico Beach. How many hats are you going to wear?
Exactly.
We appreciate it.
She's done an excellent job, and we're glad to have her on our staff, and hope we can keep her on full time.
Wonderful.
And we didn't bring her here to be grilled by the board or anything. We just wanted to let you know what her face looked like.
And we'll just call you yes, officer.
Brennan, Officer Brennan?
All right, all right, and I've run into it before. We had a guy who was V plus 12 in a squadron. I said, what is your last name?
I say Harvestburg. My dad says I say it wrong. I say at least I learned how to spell it.
H plus 10 works.
All right, anything else? We'll move to, yay, a zoning map.
A big zoning map,
nice zoning.
not that small little thing you got last time.
Let me ask, is this now the coordinated version between Bay County and Mexico Beach?
It is the version that was given to Bay County to comply with that when you got in front of
Their
it.
response.
Right, they're working to get it in conjunction with ours. And to bring you all up to speed on what's happened so far, the last zoning map that was approved was 2001. The 2005 version that is on a lot of people's walls here and there never was approved. We've got the capability now, we've got our minutes scanned in, and so we can research a little better than we could in the past. We not only did computer searches, we dedicated Sharon, I don't know if you know Sharon Harrell in the office, but she read minutes for days on end trying to find whether or not the 2005 zoning map was actually approved or not. And again, the minutes reflected it was okay in general terms. It was, you know, we're going to check with these people type thing, but in the end...
And we'll get back to you.
Exactly. In the end, it never was formally approved. So what you have in front of you is the 2001 version map plus all ordinances changing zoning from 2001 to present. If you were to take a quick review of the map, you'll notice there are certain areas that doesn't make any sense. For instance, where the Parker Park is, it's zoned one thing in the back, one thing in the front. You'll notice that the CDC Center on Canal Parkway is partially zoned something different on one lot compared to the other. There was a comment by one of our city council persons in the previous meeting that why is the location of City Hall not zoned government or public institutional? The answer is it doesn't have to be. So rather than just make a blanket change in the map and just bless it and approve it, we felt let's go ahead and approve this map in its current form, and anything that needs to be changed, we do it by ordinance the right way.
So this sort of would be the acceptable footprint, and then we'd look at, like you say, the City Hall location, the Parker property, or any other oddball, and say, well, this should be maybe a contiguous zoned area instead of broken into 2 or 3 different kind of little...
Exactly.
Great, I think that's a good idea myself. We'd handle it slice by slice instead of the whole thing at once. I think that's a
Right.
good idea.
Because when you do something by changing it by just a map, there's the perception you're trying to slip something in, and such is not the case, so we'll do it the right way.
Well, I'd like to say that that's a step forward.
Indeed it is. And you really haven't had time to really review that map. In the perfect world, we'd go ahead and have a motion to approve it and send it to the city council for their approval, but because you've just seen it now for the first time, I think it's inappropriate to ask that question tonight.
We'll do our homework and talk about it next time.
All right?
You said that this has been submitted to Bay County. Do they have something different?
Different, yes, but, you know, their map is only as good as what we give them. And so we had to actually prove certain things was zoned a certain way so that they could change it. So we had to do a lot of research also to get proof that it is what it is.
But ultimately, I think what you're asking, I think, is once we say this is it, Bay County, you need to agree with us.
That's right.
Change your.
Because you pass the map by ordinance.
Right.
And so the ordinance then makes it legal.
So, is other various and sundry items mean time to adjourn? Or
Only
do you
thing
actually
I'd like,
have something to say?
only thing I'd like to add is that we do have one application for one variance for next month.
Okay,
So hopefully it'll be a light agenda for you.
wonderful. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, by the way, unless you don't know Elizabeth Wilker, she's our new alternate.
Oh, welcome. Very good. Hi.
Just some random person we drug off the street and threw up here.
Absolutely.
You're eating at Mango Marley's and you came to this meeting.
I know that feeling.
I didn't have anything else to do, so I just showed up.
Spent one meeting over there.
So if there's no further items, no public discussion, do I have a motion?
The motion we adjourn.
Second. Second?
Everybody seconds, yes.
All in favor?
Because I used that one to talk.
That's all right. Well, you too.
Yeah, I've got some information from a couple different cities on
Which ones are you?
food trailer. I haven't read them in detail. I can't really say that
Did
nothing.
you see this? It was in about Parker doing a ban.
No, that's a food truck.
Well, that's food truck. Yeah.
Luckily, we don't have to discuss. You know, there's.
I can see it used for food trucks because they come in and leave. For
Yeah.
special events, something like that, it might be nice to have food trucks.